This week on the show, we have Sarah Marks, the founder and CEO of the Annaka Theorem. Hello and welcome. Thank you so much for watching. This show is all about giving you insights and showcasing brands that help you to live your best life and give you confidence. As always, I want to kickstart your morning with some motivational advice to help you to feel inspired and energized to start your day. Today, I want to talk about understanding that the best way to break old patterns is to simply decide to do things differently. Albert Einstein so famously said that insanity is doing the same things over and over and expecting different results. But how many of us are guilty of doing exactly that and they get frustrated when we don't see new results? Sometimes all it takes is to simply decide that the old patterns or habits are just not serving us anymore and that it's time to do something different. If you're frustrated or unhappy in any area of your life, then that's a great place to start, because it's only when we are uncomfortable that we are forced to get out of our comfort zone and say enough is enough. Make it your mission today to decide to do something different than you would normally do. For example, if you've always been too shy to network with new people, change it up and go to a stranger and say hi. Sometimes it's just that easy. We just need to simply decide to do things differently. As Tim Ferriss quotes, "What we fear doing most is usually what we most need to do."
Stay tuned. Coming up after the break.
Fast forward, let's talk about the Annaka Theorem. Tell us what it is and how it works.
It is simply complicated. It sounds like a girl's name.
Yeah.
And it is a beautiful girl's name. It actually is a series of letters that when put together, it's almost like semantics in that sense. But Annaka is actually ancient properties, scientific functions and symbolism, but as scientific functions. So Annaka is literally, to summarize it, creation made and sustained in connectivity. So what that then kind of means in a sense is it's a concept around the law of connectivity, communications that demonstrate relationships, but it's how creation is made and sustained in connectivity, like a bonded connectivity, like an operating system per se.
Wardrobe provided by Le Chateau. Next up on the show, we have Sarah Marks, the founder and CEO of the Annaka Theorem. Sarah, thank you so much for being on the show today. How are you doing?
Good, thanks. Yourself?
I am doing amazing. Before we get into all of your fascinating work with the Annaka Theorem, let's take it back to the beginning. I know that you were born with a unique set of abilities, so tell us about that.
Oh my goodness, I was born with the circus. So I kind of, I noticed it when I was very young. It's funny when you look back and you kind of go, when was the first time I remembered experiencing something that was the nature of ESP? And it's interesting because I remember the first memory I had was mediumship. So that was one of the things I was born with. I would have spirits and things coming to me, entities, and I would know the difference. And that's what I think was really, really interesting looking back on it. I would know the difference if it, what dimension, multidimensional, if it was non-energetic matter, it was energetic matter. If it was, an entity, a presence, a force, whatever. I was actually quite in tune to what I was connecting with, and they would tell me all sorts of things,
Oh.
So I kind of, that was my earliest memory of it. And then it kind of just developed as I got older. And I think when I was little, I kind of thought it was a game because it's something that, with all due respect, you don't grow up with a manual, kind of showing you the way and explaining these things to you. And I certainly didn't grow up in an environment that I would say was really conducive of its growth, but it was like, they were the first kind of things I noticed, the clair senses and medium remote viewing. Telepathy was something that's developed as I've got older greatly, which is something that can be a little bit of a gift and a curse at the same time. I wish there was just an off button sometimes for it. It can be a little bit confrontational, but at the same time, look, it's amazing because it's given me so much insight and it's given me, a different outlook to the world, so to speak. It's enabled me to see things at a depth that I wouldn't be able to without it. So
Yeah,
I'm very grateful for that.
absolutely. Let's talk a little bit about that, because obviously having those kind of abilities would change the way you see the world. So tell us more about how it's changed your perception of life.
Absolutely. I mean, to be honest, it's like we're all living in a fishbowl and you have these abilities and all of a sudden you realize that you're a fish in a fishbowl and you can
Yeah.
you're acutely aware of it. And not only that, you can see the parameters of the fishbowl and you can see beyond the fishbowl in which you're living and existing. And that's kind of what it's enabled for me with this, anomalous kind of insight that I would say is probably the most unique out of all of them. But also what it's really given me is not only has it kind of removed a lot of self-imposing limitations that I think I probably would have ended up, in a different area in life, but also I would say that it's given me a lot more compassion because it's enabled me to understand people at a much greater depth. Having things like being able to communicate through telepathic transmission and read people's minds and things like that. And empathic and, medium, like you name it, I've got all of them. I've kind of written it down on my Instagram, like in a lot of detail, but to summarize it, I've pretty much got the broad spectrum of all of that. But what it's actually enabled me to do with that is kind of become more compassionate, but in doing that, kind of seeing what people need and what they want and being able to actually truly understand and connect with them on a deeper level, which which I think is sadly is what a lot of us are just lacking, is that it's very hard to kind of know someone's story. Like we'll see things from our perspective and we'll kind of judge that based on that with somebody, but we don't really know the depths of where their reasoning is coming from, their life story, their experiences, what's led them to this kind of perception and this state of being and reason. So that's kind of what helped me a lot. I would say compassion is one of the greatest things that it's given me, and patience.
Those are great qualities. I mean, for anybody, for any human being, right? Because as you said, especially with social media, we only see, people's highlight reels and not really what they're going through emotionally. So I love that you said that it's giving you and kindness, because I think that's much needed in the world. And fast forward, let's talk about the Annaka Theorem. Tell us what it is and how it works.
It's simply complicated. It sounds like a girl's name. And it is a beautiful girl's name. It actually is a series of letters that when put together, it's almost like semantics in that sense. But Annaka is actually ancient properties, scientific functions and symbolism, but as scientific functions. So Annaka is literally, to summarize it, creation made and sustained in connectivity. So what that then kind of means in a sense is it's a concept around the law of connectivity, communications that demonstrate relationships, but it's how creation is made and sustained in connectivity, like a bonded connectivity, like an operating system per se. And through genetics, it's like what I think the exciting thing is there is a component in genetics, and it's been explored a lot more now, but there was a Russian scientist a while ago that delved into this that I thought was fantastic. He delved into the functionalism of DNA at a really different level and started realizing that DNA can act like the internet. We can become the internet. And I think more excitingly even than that is that we can not only just become the internet internally, we can actually use this DNA, like we can use our genetics, we can use it as a dial-up modem of connectivity per se, right? And this connectivity can act like, I kind of say it's like it connects things to be taken jointly, but what that includes is a created species. Like everything has a counterpart, let's say, everything. And you think how many things are in the world, from an atom through to a person through to, So there's a multi-scale of everything, and everything has a counterpart, and that goes up the scale up to a collective race, which we are, the humanity, with its creator. So things to be taken jointly is we are a created species, and we actually can be connected in a unified function with who created us. And this can be accomplished through genetics. Genetics can act like a dial-up modem with source's phone number and to each other. So it's how creation is made and sustained in connectivity. So things to be taken jointly, which includes us with who created us as an operating system and a firewall. So that actually enables for transcendental healthcare, protection, and community, because what it also enables is Annaka represents, I guess I say it's an intelligence and a civil service, but what it's actually enabling is access to a higher information flow. And it's almost like, look, if you think of an unborn child, a mother, a placenta is almost like that dial-up modem, right? So the placenta is actually feeding nutrients to the baby, and the baby doesn't actually need instructions. So, what do I do with this? The baby instinctively knows what to actually do with that to actually then heal, develop, and grow itself. What Annaka also consists of, she is like a genome. In a sense, that's how she works. She has a set of instructions that actually explain how to grow, develop, reproduce itself, and to sustain harmony. And what it creates is a phenomena whereby all form is created and sustained from and in harmony, so to speak.
Wow.
At that kind of perfect point. So it also, it kind of reconciles two opposing activities in that sense of sustaining immortality and mortality together. So we have an immortal component, spirit, whatever you want to call it, subtle body, and we also have the physical body, and they are two opposing activities, and they can be reconciled together to become supernatural. So in genetics, we're already kind of, understanding now that we can turn genes on and off and things like that, and we can reverse aging and all of this. And what that is that's all just summarized and put together, and it's creation made and sustained in this operating system of connectivity that knows how to sustain itself in a harmonized space, meaning that midpoint. So if it sustains itself at that midpoint, it's not too there, and it opens the door, so to speak, to a higher order reality. It's, like I said, a dial-up modem to source.
Mm-hmm. And touching base on that, the Annaka theorem sees DNA as more than biological code, as almost an antenna that connects to energy. So tell us more about that.
Yeah, literally. I call this antenna, it's like a wave interface per se. And it almost works in the sense like, the ancient Egyptians would talk about placenta KH, and they would say that the placenta is component of channeling spirit into physical per se. So that's that change phase, and that's those two opposing activities reconciled together. DNA is kind of that intermediate that enables that link and that connection from spirit to physical and sustaining them together. Mm-hmm. Literally, like in that sense of, a mother to an unborn child. Again, I go back to the placenta, but it's just such an easy analogy because that's kind of what it is. It's like a little dial-up modem. And in doing that, it creates interconnectivity and conversion, constant conversion. It accesses this higher information flow. And it's with that, it's almost like an ancient language. It's this higher information flow that anybody, anything, nature instinctively knows how to use it and what to do with it to heal itself and to sustain its own equilibrium. And DNA literally is that interconnectivity. It is the, it is the connection.
Mm-hmm. And I know that the Annaka theory goes beyond the physical world. And collapses time. Is time and space really an illusion based on your theory?
Yeah. Well, I would say that, look, time and space in my theory is more a unit calibration, because when you look at memory cells, which I guess when you kind of look at creation, it is one big living system, for example. And what we look at and what a lot of it's actually been explored a bit now is the understanding that cells contain memory. And in this memory holds the past, the present, and the future simultaneously together at once. And so what happens is when we access a certain point, a reference, and some scientists say that the speed of light is the reference point. Annaka suggests that the reference point is something else, but basically when you can hit a reference point, this point acts like a junction, and in that junction it interconnects with every other point in space-time that's interconnected, multi-dimensionally, dimensionless quantity, whatnot. And then what happens is it's a bi-enfoldment movement that melds. It folds into itself in a melded union, and it becomes an entirety of field. So there is no time, because time has a start and an end, right? So time is linear in its behavior. If you've got an entirety of field that's available to you all at once, then there is no start and there is no end. Mm-hmm. So it's no longer linear. It's actually lost. The linear has dissolved, and it's become a different measurement and a different calibration.
Very interesting. I think Einstein says something like that energy can't be created or destroyed, right? So it does make sense. Yeah. And even in metaphysics, they talk about there are many versions of you existing at the same time, right? And that in order to, there's like the sick version of you, the happy version of you, the one that has everything that you want, but it really depends on which vibration you connect to, and that you can kind of quantum jump into any of those versions based on your feelings, right? So I think that's very interesting with what you said.
Exactly. Like, we believe that we're, three-dimensional living is also very, it's almost like a physical trick, so to speak. It's deceptive. We think that we're limited by three-dimensional time, space, and the speed of light, but it is deceptive. It's like we can actually, like I said, reach a junction, open a door, and that then opens up, melds together. It becomes an entirety of field, whereby, it's no longer how we view ourselves now, where we are young and then we're old. Everything is linear in that sense of how we develop, grow, and function, but we can change that unit calibration so that doesn't exist.
Mm-hmm. I like that the Annaka theorem is opening people's minds, because it really shows that we're limitless. We're not these little tiny helpless human beings, that we have so much power, right, to create and be connected for. So I love that. How can the Annaka theorem help to transform people's lives?
It actually takes away the limits. What it does is when we have access to this higher information flow, this information is what we're actually lacking in our lives at the moment, which is why so many of us feel lost and can't find our purpose and whatnot. It's there, but we don't have all the tools that we need sometimes to be able to access this. And it's almost like, in a way, kinesiology works, where through muscle testing, you're actually testing through muscle, biofeedback. Mm-hmm. Same thing applies, like when you're accessing higher information, that information is all there, right? Mm-hmm. So we're accessing, and it's an ancient language. A lot of this is, something that's I've been reading a lot about recently as well. A lot more people are actually kind of discussing this now, this higher information flow. And with it, instinctively what to do with it. And so people can find themselves. It's like, you're not lost if you have all the information at hand that you need. The problem is that we don't currently. But if we had all that at hand and we accessed it, we can also link our unconscious. We can make our unconscious conscious. We become an integrated whole. Whereas right now, we don't read our unconscious. It's functioning. If you want to know what your unconscious is doing, just pay attention to your habits every day, and you'll start understanding it, what's going on, subtly. But if we can make that conscious, which we can, and we can access a higher information flow with that as an integrated whole, we can put that all together. And we can do what we need to find that equilibrium. So it offers transcendental healing. And also because we're going from a lineal space to entirety of field, there's been instances of it now, but we can harness that where we can actually create instantaneous healing, which some people can. It has been documented on Earth. It's not so common, but there are documented cases of healers that can actually do this. One of which, there was a book, The Energy Cure, which I found really interesting. And that offers, the doorway to transcendental healthcare and protection as well, because a lot of us are very, prone and we're not aware of how to protect ourselves, and we do get a lot of alien stuff and foreign. When I say alien, foreign stuff, pollution, whether that be physical pollution, energetic pollution, somebody's negative projection or whatever. But we get so much on us in a given day, and this metaphysical stuff actually then it kind of meshes and it becomes biological function, and if we can actually transform that, which we can actually, like Annaka actually works in a way that's very non-invasive. What it will be is audio-acoustic holographic engineering. So it's, like I said, non-invasive, but it's like a dial-up modem that accesses this higher information source, that when you can actually use that, and you can just use that, it'll just be, it's sound, it's light, it's color, astronomical music formulas and whatnot, and a lot more, but it's basically when you access that you can just heal yourself. Your body actually does it instinctively just by knowing. Have you ever had a situation in life where when you've understood something, the problem's not there anymore? You have this realization, and it's like, wow, and as soon as you have, it's like the problem's gone. A lot of people with intention with all of this that have healed, diseases and whatnot. And this is just at another level again, where it's actually able to do this through light as communication.
Wow. I mean, even for placebo tests, right? There are so many people that they don't do anything different. Doctors give them a placebo pill, and it's really their minds that are healing, because they think that that pill is healing them, but it's really themselves, right? Because they believe that it is healing them, but really nothing's being done. It's not the pill. So I do believe, I've heard so many stories of people of healing themselves, so I think that's definitely possible. And Sarah, what is your mission with the Annaka Theorem?
My mission is actually to connect us to source through the communication of the cosmos.
Wow.
So in doing that, it's, like I said, creating an operating system as a civil service per se through communications that is not only connecting us, like I said, it connects things to be taken jointly, which includes a created species to its creator. And in doing that, we're able to access, like I said, a much higher level of information that's passing through. That is, a lot of people document this with NDE experiences, which is this love and this support and that we don't have now, that could change everything for us. We've never been paired. We don't know. I mean, it's a very controversial topic, sadly. A lot of people don't believe that it's possible to prove the existence of our creator, but I not only believe that it is, I'm developing a way through genetics, as
Yeah.
A dial-up modem, so to speak.
Absolutely.
Source's phone number.
There's some things that humans cannot explain. If you look at the world, if you look at the different planets, I mean, somebody created that, right? That just wasn't put there. It was made by somebody. So I definitely believe in God myself, but I know there are people that are skeptical. But I mean, there are some things, how can you explain that, right? The unexplainable. And Sarah, I created my platform to inspire and to uplift. And, I feel like mental health is on the rise. People are experiencing mental health issues. So What would you say to someone who maybe is feeling low, depressed, and maybe hasn't found their purpose yet and just needs a bit of motivation?
I would say I have had your life.
I think
I
we
know
all have at
exactly
some
how
point. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
know exactly how that feels. And the thing is, you know, sometimes it can be really hard and it can be really dark. And sometimes there's actually no words, and that's okay.
Mm-hmm.
And I think you've just got to take each moment and each day as it comes. And the biggest thing that you've got to reach, that is good to reach in your life, is self-acceptance. It's best not to compare yourself to others, because I think as soon as you start doing that and you start going, maybe I should have done this by now, or when I look at you immediately lose your power, and it's not about that. It doesn't matter what age you find yourself.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't matter, as long as you just stay true to yourself and don't be scared to fail. I think that's another massive thing, just be open to trying things that you like, be open to change, be open to possibilities, and being okay. That's self-acceptance. It's okay to fail. It's better to give something a go and fail than to not do anything at all.
Absolutely.
So again, and what I also do, I think that really helps, is sometimes when you don't have anyone, which I was alone for a very long time. What I kind of learnt to do was I would literally just be like this on days. Like sometimes I've just learned just learned to hug myself. And you know why? It's a really good trick, because it actually tricks the body into human connection, and that's really important. The foundation in which we all need, I think, that helps us to find ourselves and to be our best, is feeling supported. And it doesn't come from anyone else. It can come from you. And it's one simple thing like that. Sometimes there are no words. You just hold yourself, literally just hold yourself. And it does tell your body, it tricks it into feeling human connection and supported.
Yeah.
And if you actually do that, I think they say if you do it 4 times a day, the body actually feels supported. If you do it 12 times a day, the body starts feeling very loved. And if you do that over time, that actually shows your body that there's love and there's support happening. And the more you've got that, the more confident you feel. The more confident you feel, the more brave you are. The more brave you are, you go out there, just be yourself, and it doesn't matter. I said, give things a go. And if it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. There's no right, there's no wrong.
Absolutely. I think, what, honestly, self-love is the most important thing you can give yourself, because that can't be taken away from you, right? Relationships can be taken away from you, but the self-love is something you can always rely back on, and it's always available to us, at any time. So I love that you said that. I think that's really important. And as you said also, is it's better to try and fail than never try, because to be honest, we were put on this earth to fail and try and learn, right? We weren't put on this earth to be comfortable and just exist. We're meant to thrive, learn, grow, become better, and evolve. So I think that's great advice for anyone watching, is just to, if you have an idea or you want to do something, just give it a go and try. It's better. You won't have regrets. And Sarah, for all of our viewers that want to learn more about your story, where can they do so and connect with you? Because you have an amazing, interesting story and an amazing brand. So where can they connect with you?
The easiest one is annaka.com, and it's ANNAKA.com, or my Instagram account, which is one word, Annaka Official. And on that, you can kind of get links to my LinkedIn or my SoundCloud account, but I'd say they're the easiest. On Instagram, I've gone into a lot of detail with my work. I don't know how easy it is to communicate sometimes if I do that effectively enough, but on Instagram, like, my God, you've probably got a lot to read.
Yeah. No, it's all amazing and interesting work. Sarah, thank you so much for being on the show today. Keep up the amazing work. You're such a brilliant mind, I always tell you. And thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure.
The Darriel Roy Show is available on Roku, Amazon Fire TV, iHeartRadio, and Apple Podcasts.